going on, everybody? Welcome in to the North End Podcast, episode 255. My name is Zach Graham, your host here in the North End, joined, as always, by my good buddy. He's on record as my best friend. His name is Ian Michaud, and we call him... He's sitting here on a Thursday, beautiful Austin, Texas, getting ready to head north on I-35 to take on one of our Texas rivals up there in Frisco. How you feeling, my friend?
Excited, man. Like you said, we're heading up there for this game. Super excited about that. First away game this season, for us. So definitely looking forward to that. Packed my lucky underwear, lucky toothbrush, lucky comb, lucky mustache. I got it all. So I'm ready to roll here. Get a little get back versus these boys. Again, another opportunity to check off the old checklist. Win at Frisco for the first time ever. So huge opportunity here. Obviously, playoff implications on the line, but ready to get into it, ready to preview this matchup, and then looking forward to seeing our homies up there in the Dallas-Fort Worth area for a little rendezvous and then enjoy the game together. Yeah,
absolutely. And when it comes to the opponent, right, there are some aspects of the get back there, right? But it's also like we're just trying to get one because we've never won up there, like you said. So we'll obviously preview that game in depth, recording here midday on Thursday, trying to get this one out a little bit earlier than normal to everybody since we are a day late with that Sunday night soccer last weekend. Last business day as well. Quick turnaround on that, too. That is a Friday night match for the second team. And, of course, we'll talk about all the fun nonsense that we typically do here in the midweek before we get into the rest of episode 255. Just want to remind you all listening or watching on the YouTube channel that you can support the show financially by downloading the audio versions of our episodes wherever you get your podcasts. You can toggle on auto downloads. That'll support the North End Podcast going forward. And you won't have to think about it again. You can go the extra mile, rate and review the show wherever you get your podcast. And if you are watching on the YouTube channel, hitting that subscribe button also helps us grow the show. You can hit the notification bell to know when a live stream pops up or a new episode goes live. And of course, here on episode 255, hit the thumbs up, like the video. Help us battle the YouTube algorithm overlords by atoning for your sins and washing yourselves clean in the waters of the North End. So, first things first here. This is, of course, a road match. Yet another one of these awesome watch parties that you and I will not be able to attend this time because we're actually going to the game rather than dicking around with our fantasy league. But this one, again, like we mentioned at the end of Sunday's episode, this party is going to be at Central Machine Works down there on East Cesar Chavez. The party is going to start at 6:30 here. Of course, kickoff for this match against Frisco is at 7:30. This watch party is open to all ages. Central Machine Works is dog friendly. The match will be shown on the indoor projector, so there's plenty of seating inside. The big old fans up top and everything, right? They also have the full kitchen and bar that offers more than just beer. You know, if you're trying to branch out, diversify a little bit, and parking, there is plenty of it, right? There's a small lot in front, a little bit of a larger lot in back, and then plenty of street parking behind Central Machine Works there on the east side. I think that's about it, man. And this is one that, once again, I am a little bit disappointed that we will be unable to attend this one because, you know, you and I like Central Machine Works, and we love getting together to watch our favorite team play against some of our biggest rivals. So this one looks like it's going to be fun. If you're not making the trek up to Frisco along with us, go ahead and go check out this party there at Central Machine Works hosted by Los Verdes.
Look, I'm a big Central Machine Works fan. That's a great spot. And off topic, unrelated note, just see that Central Machine Works has a new stage for music, and they put out 12 free concerts spanning from, like, I believe the end of this month till December. And the lineup is sick. There's some great artists showing up there. Black Joe Lewis is opening it up for him, so like that's gonna be great. There's a couple other bands you wouldn't know. You're not too cultured like I am, but I'm super excited about this. So we'll miss this, but I will be at Central Machine Works for a couple of these shows here to have myself a good time.
I'm not perusing enough, huh?
No perusals.
Okay. Well, another kind of fun thing that happens every year around this time that, of course, you and I are certainly interested in is the EAFC26 ratings have just dropped. So the team did their customary annual player rating release video. I always have a good laugh at these. They're silly. They're fun. The guys joke around with each other. Owen was not happy with his 44 shot rating. And like, look, man, I get it. I think when they did these ratings, you were still the guy who had scored 3 goals in 4.5 seasons. So like maybe you get an update once the game comes out. I thought it was funny too. The way they did it this year is they were like taking they had these little player cards covered up like all of the attributes and the position and of course like the name and the face. And so they were unveiling Osman's. And as soon as they ripped off the defense and it showed 37, all of them went, oh, yep, Buka. Johnny pointed out that Stuver was a 70 at positioning, and Galley was like, okay, yeah, you know how to stand in the goal. So I would urge everybody to go check that video out. It's good for a smile. And I'm ready to continue to beat your ass this whole next year on EAFC 26. Whoa. I had more wins in the last calendar year. That is a fact. You can ask AG Corp.
Whoa. I just
look, no rebuttal, just whoa.
There's no data on this.
There's plenty of data.
I like how no one's happy about their rating besides Brad because he got a 69.
Yeah.
he's brimming. Everyone else is just like, Like, look at Buka, man. He's miserable right there.
I know.
Owen, central defensive mid. What are we doing here? Are we seriously focusing on
that positioning? Yeah.
Are we focusing on the Premier League when we could be in the weeds with MLS and making sure that the positions are right for these young guys? I mean, accurate. Like, this world is just going to shit, man. I don't know.
85 speed for Buka? Yeah, that's at least 13.5 points too low.
I would agree. That's good data.
All right, well, let's go ahead and get into this match.
Also, it's like
what?
It's like Vasquez's one is like a tombstone at the bottom.
Yeah, where is he?
Wait, he can't show up for this?
Hopefully he's in the training room, dude.
Oh, my God.
He's locked in.
A lot of good things coming from this picture. Okay, great. Ready to move on here.
All right. Well, let's talk about this match. And look, man, it's like less than a month since we last saw these guys. So, like, I don't think there's a ton of new stuff that we're uncovering here, with the exception of what's happened with Frisco since we last saw them at the Q. I know you are on the match preview here, and you know I will come in and fill in any potential gaps that I perceive in the information you have here, E. And I might repeat something that you say because you know I don't listen to you 100% of the time. So talk to me about what you've uncovered about these bastards to the north.
After that great introduction, ready to go here. Look, as I mentioned right when we were doing little intros here and everything, we have never secured 3 points up at Frisco at Toyota Stadium there. I personally am a fan of that stadium. I think it's nice. It's small. There's not a lot going on. The beers aren't super expensive. So I am a fan there. I'll give them a little credit there. But yes, as you mentioned, we have just seen this team recently for a very, very disappointing draw at the result of a ricocheted shot that would have been a routine save for Bradley Scott Stuver off the foot of Shaq Moore. In that matchup, Austin largely dominated the game. FC Dallas did not really want to come out and play with us. They had their game plan set in stone that they were going to be ultra defensive, ultra physical with us. And I think that's going to be the main point that I'm going to try to push home here on this little preview, because we know these guys. We know that they are entirely offensively centered and focused around Petar Musa, who is a wonderful, wonderful player. But outside of that, they just don't have a ton of talent. And in that first matchup, as you pull up for the YouTube viewers here, the last matchup, you can see the momentum chart. You can see how much Austin dominated this game, how much of the ball that we had. And to walk away with that only single point at home was a really low point for us here, coming off the Houston draw as well, and then following that up with a really shitty performance versus CF Montreal. Again, this team does not have a lot to play for in Dallas at this point in time, but spoiling any and all hopes of us securing a higher playoff seed would really go a long way for them. Last 5 games, you see the 3 draws, one win, 1 loss there for them, sitting on 31 points right now from 28 games. And I think we're going to see a very, very similar approach from the Dallas staff in regard to how they're going to come at Austin and try to get a point at least off of this game. It's going to be ultra defensive. They're going to give us the ball, allow us to put it in the horseshoe a little bit, and then try to hit us on the counter. Petar Musa, as I mentioned, is definitely the most dangerous player on this team and the guy that you're really going to have to focus on. But I remember distinctly reviewing this game after the draw had come through and being incredibly disappointed and just continuously saying Austin didn't meet and match the physicality that FC Dallas presented from the very start of this game. I remember within the first 2 minutes seeing Abubakar being incredibly physical with our attacking players and setting the tone for that FC Dallas defense early. They had 5 guys back most of the time in that matchup. And then when we pressed up the field, there was multiple times in that game where you saw 7, 8 players in the box just trying to keep anything out of the zone. So I anticipate seeing that matchup again. And to me, Austin is going to have to meet that physicality. And once you do that, I think that the playing field becomes a bit more level and our team is a more talented team on paper and out there on the field. So I'm feeling confident about this matchup, particularly with what we've seen from Austin over these last 2 games here. So I'll kick it over to you.
Well, and that physicality, just kind of piggybacking off what you brought up from that last meeting at Q2, that physicality is something we expected coming into that match, right?
Yep.
Like looking at, and they're still top 10 in penalties conceded. Their 7 conceded is still 1 more than Austin's 6. They're top 10 in fouls per game, yellow cards, and red cards. So that physicality is just kind of in the DNA of this year's iteration of FC Dallas. And I think it's serving them well. Yeah. Because we pulled up that momentum chart that you talked about, and you look at the games that have happened since then, and they've actually only played twice since that August 16th match because their August 30th match against LA Galaxy was postponed because the Galaxy were still in Leagues Cup in the Final Four at that point. But like since then, 1-1 draw at home against LAFC, and then the 1-1 draw on the road against St. Louis last week, which was, that was the headline across the league on the short slate last weekend, is that Dallas absorbed 42 shots while managing just 4 of their own, and they tied 1-1. And incredible. So like some of the things coming out of that match, I went back and watched more of that match than I should have, I think, just like trying to see like, how the hell did this happen? And Michael Collodi, the backup goalkeeper, right, for Dallas, he was in net with the little ninja headband or whatever was going on in that match. He started the game. Martin Paz has still been out for Dallas. And he had like 2 really good saves before he got a red card himself in the 16th minute for denial of a goal-scoring opportunity. And then Jacob Jackson, their 3rd string guy who has played at mostly next pro minutes, I think, this year. He comes in, 12 saves, ties a club record in just 74 minutes on the pitch. And dude, those were not soft shots into the breadbasket. There were at least 5 where he is full stretch, pushing balls over the crossbar, blocking balls out for corners that were very tough saves. And so again, would I rather have a Collodi or a Jackson in net than a guy like Martin Paz? We know how good Martin Paz can be, right? Of course, I would rather have one of his understudies in there, but neither Collodi nor Jackson has put anything on tape over the last month to make us think that we're getting a huge advantage or like there's some giant drop off from Paz to these 2 guys. So hopefully we can go put a couple past Jackson and maybe if you get that first one right, he turns back into a 3rd string guy and you can really open it up at the back. But again, what these guys have put on film, they have been very, very staunch defensively. And it's not just the physicality in the field, it's these backup goalkeepers as well.
Yeah, I remember Collodi in our matchup and being like, okay, he's definitely a solid keeper. And I would assume if you're absorbing 42 shots, that at least a few of them were going to require some pretty spectacular saves to go ahead and only be giving up 1 goal in that matchup. And that's a great result for them. And as you mentioned with the LAFC game, that is also a great result for them there. So they're finding what works for them, and it's fouling and it's being physical and it's giving the ball up to the other team. 14 fouls to 3 in the first matchup between these 2 teams. Going back to that game, the Lucho Acosta deal had just gone down.
Yeah.
They had shipped him out, and it just kind of looked like they were selling out on this season and just ready to be done with it. Again, I still do not think that. I mean, I guess they're 4 points off the line here. So, like, we understand.
And a game in hand on, sorry to interrupt, on San Jose, Colorado, and Houston because of the postponed match against the Galaxy.
So this is a really, really big matchup for them. And we talked about on the last episode, if you're a good team, being able to put some clubs out of their misery, you could really do some damage to their playoff hopes here if you steal 3 points on the road from this team. Looking at some other players that they have that I respect, Anderson Julio, his speed, his ability to get out into the open field is a threat at all times because they can hit you on the counter with him. And if they're playing ultra defensively, naturally, we saw a lot of players pushed up in that last matchup back at Q2 Stadium. And they didn't get a lot of counter chances in that game. But when they have players like Anderson Julio out there with that level of speed, it can come quick and fast. And honestly, they're probably just looking for one goal. If you look back to how we started our season with the 1-0 wins, a couple 1-1 draws, just being in that kind of zone where it's like we're not trying. Well, I guess I'll give them a little more credit than they deserve here. I'll say not trying, but we were absolutely trying to score more goals than one per game in those matchups. But man, they just need an opportunity. They got it in that last matchup with the Shaq Moore deflection, and they walked out of that stadium very, very happy with that result. So, like, you're going to have to be on top of your shit here, man, because, again, this is a team that we're better on paper and out there on the field. And with the level of play that we've seen from some of these guys lately, particularly Owen Wolf, I feel confident in our ability to go up there and get our first win ever at Toyota Stadium.
Yeah, I think I do as well. It's shocker. If you're coming to the North End with any sort of regularity, you are taken aback that we have some positivity headed into this one. I did want to note, and FOTMOD has this formation that they ran against St. Louis as a 4-2-3-1. Apple TV and me watching it back, they ran a 5-back, and I thought it was really interesting that Uragide, it was not interesting that he was in the middle, but that Coach Quill pulled Shaq Moore in to play as a right center back. And so I was doing some, subterfuge listening to the FC Dallas podcast circuit here this week, which is doesn't hold a candle to the Austin FC one. Hey. But those guys were talking about that with Quill shifting Shaq Moore into that back three, it allowed Quill to get both Ramiro and Kaique on the field at the same time in those wingback spots, which again is not reflected in what FOTMOB interpreted this as. But these fans that I was listening to were saying getting both of those guys on at the same time gives you more grit, more tenacity in the midfield, specifically with Kaique out there. And if I recall correctly, I think he didn't start against us either, because wasn't he the one who was no, it wasn't him. It was somebody else who was getting in trouble with Lucho as well. It wasn't Kaique, but I don't believe he started against us last time out.
He did not. Came on the 72nd.
Yeah, and so again, I think they're making this move to try to generate a little bit more offensive output, be a little bit more threatening going forward, because you certainly lose that when you sell Lucho Acosta and you look at the rest of this team. There is not a lot of other. I mean, to me, dude, it's kind of Petar Musa as like the above average player on this roster. And I don't know, with Paz out, I don't know who else, maybe Uragide. Like, again, this is just not on paper, Austin is, I think, hands down the more talented side here.
Absolutely. I mean, you're looking at their stats here. Petar Musa, 20 goal contributions. After him, Lucho Acosta is still tied for second with 6 with Logan Farrington, who, again, to your point, I don't think he is a poor player. I would say he's pretty average, but slotting those two guys in there in the midfield that you talked about really aligns with what they do and they have on that back line in Abubakar and Uragide, who are physical, large, athletic players who really bring the heat to the offensive players on the other side of the field. So like that, paired with the fact that they're trying to generate a little more offense, a little bit more of a free play, makes a lot of sense to me, and I do give them credit for that move from the coaching staff. The player I think you were looking for was Pedrinho, who had been looked up with Lucho Acosta a little bit there. We did not see him. He was down with the second team, right?
we did see him just the week before.
That's right. And no minutes for any of these last 3 matchups for Pedrinho. So he still might be in the doghouse.
Yeah. You also see a guy like Sam Sarver now with the first team on a full-time basis, right? That's the kid who is still, even though he's been up with the first team for a month now, still leading MLS Next Pro in goals scored. He didn't appear in that match against St. Louis over the weekend, but just somebody to maybe be, he might not look like much coming onto the field, but that kid can score, and I think it may translate to the first team level. Unsurprisingly, right, it is kind of dismal offensive stats too. They are 29th in average possession per game, 21st in XG, 23rd in shots on target per match, and last in corner kicks, which is a pretty good indicator that you're not getting into that offensive third all too much. I would also say, I think the thing I'm looking for in their lineup outside of Musa's not starting for whatever reason, which I don't think will happen, but outside of surprises like that is Uragide next to Sebastian Ibeagha, who again, came off the bench last week as they tried this 5-back moving Shaq Moore inside. But if they do start Ibeagha, I think that would indicate that they're going to line up much more defensively here. If you have those 3 true center backs, maybe he replaces Abubakar in that 3-back. I'm not sure, but Ibeagha is somebody to me that has been consistently starting for this team, and that is the change they have made of late. Maybe he is kind of hitting a wall, so to speak, because he's 33 at this point. He is a more veteran center back. But I think that's the guy I'm looking to first when their lineup comes out, is how are they aligning that back line?
Yeah, that makes sense to me. And honestly, I just don't see any way where they deviate from what they've been doing as of late. They've been getting solid results from this approach. Yeah. And
they got to get wins though. At this, they got to get wins
for sure. And with the talent or lack thereof that they have at their disposal, they have to find ways to muck these games up, make them physical, and limit the opportunities. They're still overperforming their XG and sitting on 40 goals with 38 XG right now. So they're just not a high-powered offense that's going, particularly now with Acosta gone, who, despite having just 6 goal contributions, what he adds to a team on the offensive side of the ball is massive. It raises everyone else's abilities because you get advantageous situations or find yourself being wide open because all eyes are on Acosta at that point in time, drawing double teams. He's a willing passer, trying to move it out of the midfield and progress the ball up the field and everything like that. So I just don't see how they're not going to come out with the 5-back approach and saying, here you go, Austin, try to score on us. And taking into account, now you're on your 3rd-string keeper, right? I think even more so, you don't want this game to get open and up and down and be running and be very free play. So it's going to be what we saw. And I was incredibly disappointed from this last matchup with how we shied away from the contact. Like I said, 14 fouls to 3. There was opportunities to foul them as well. And kind of I don't know that we're not going to get into a tit for tat kind of thing with this, but the physicality level, they beat us on that front. We outplayed them. We outskilled them. We outstatted them with all the counting stats that you were looking at, but they had that aspect built into their game plan, and it's going to be how they approach this game as well. And they're not they do have to get wins, but I still think that their best chance at winning is a 1-0 win. I don't think it's we're going to win 3-2, we're going to win 3-1. And if you have, no Collodi, no Pass, and you're sitting on this 3rd-string keeper, you're going to have to give them as much help as possible. And I do think that they are equipped to do that with the guys that we have now mentioned maybe 3 or 4 times.
Last note I have is that if you are watching this one from home and you're a sane person and haven't been tuning into FC Dallas games this season, their stadium is being renovated right now. So on the broadcast, you will see the far side of the field. Typically on the broadcast camera, the Austin fans are all the way to the left down there in the hot corner, right up against the concrete wall. That entire side of the stadium, those seats are blocked off. And then I think next year it's going to be the other side of the stadium. So it'll be a little bit of a wacky look on the broadcast. And obviously that shrinks the environment there. And I could sit here. I know you said you enjoy the stadium. I have lots of gripes with it, but I'll just point out that you may like the stadium more than they do because they are making a new one. So not a new one. You know what I'm saying. They're renovating here.
Indeed.
So talking about us now, I think this is a good time to talk about the international results we've seen for our guys over the last week. For the first team, we should have Mirtu and Danny and Svatok and Julio back in the mix here with the first team. And I think if all of those guys are good to go, I think that means we're going to leave somebody at home because we're kind of back to full strength then. Maybe not because Sabovic is, I think I would still put him as doubtful, man. We just haven't heard anything. And I was disappointed, dude. Media availability was yesterday. No questions about the status of his knee, man. And that would have been my first question.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't think he's going to be ready to suit up for this game.
Yeah. And I think something's fucked up with his knee, dude.
I'm still on record that he could be done for the year.
Yeah.
Until I see something otherwise, I'm assuming that this is worst case scenario for him.
I feel like that's where, if you're looking for negativity in the North End, it's always around the injury report.
Oh, they're dead.
Oh yeah. So, Mirtu, we talked about, right, that the Albanian schedule over this break was a little weird with that friendly against Gibraltar. And Mirtu was on the bench for the friendly, but was a DNP. And then he was not in the team for the World Cup qualifying match earlier this week against Latvia. Albania did win both of those 1-0. I love to see that because Mirtu just played 60 plus and was pissed when he came out. I don't know if there's Roto Mafia, getting his tendrils across the international landscape and, talking to the Albanian Federation, be like, look, you don't play our boy this window. We need him. I don't know. A little speculation. I don't know if it's reckless or not, but so Svatok was on the bench for both of Ukraine's games. He DNP'd in both of them. So again, look, I'm building my case here for the Roto Mafia. But it was a rough window for Ukraine, man. Not so rough to lose to France 2-0, but then you draw Azerbaijan 1-1. I saw a clip of, when it's the crazy ultras, for whatever reason, the players come up and talk to them like they're their coach or something. I saw that going on after that match. So that was not great vibes, I think, leaving that Ukrainian camp from those two matches, but plenty of qualifying still left for them to right that ship. Danny was on the bench for Venezuela's World Cup qualifier against Argentina, and he was a DNP in the 3-0 loss. And then he was not in the team against Colombia. Again, Roto Mafia. Roto said in his press conference, I told Danny his number one priority is coming back healthy. That game against Colombia, dude, a loss, but 6-3. I mean, that is, it's NFL season, man. That is a plausible American football score there. And this is the biggest unfortunate event of this window, man. Bolivia upsets Brazil, which jumps Bolivia over Venezuela for the final intercontinental playoff spot. Venezuela is out.
Damn.
Yeah. So that was rough on all fronts. Danny PT, and Venezuela gets knocked out of the qualifying rounds. Julio, though, does get some run.
There we go.
I guess the Roto Mafia not concerned with Los Ticos here. Julio was on the bench, actually, in the first game. 1-1 road draw against Nicaragua, which was a disappointing result because Nicaragua got a red card in the 54th. Costa Rica scored in the 60th, and then they concede a penalty in the 82nd and ultimately the draw. Second match, though, you get a Cascante start. He goes 85 minutes against Haiti in what ended up being a 3-3 home draw. When Julio was subbed out in the 85th, it was 2-2. Haiti immediately scores, which, serves you right. You got to keep our guy in there, man. He's locking it down, except for two plays. I didn't have eyes on this match, but the Costa Ricans did get a stoppage time equalizer, so 2 draws to begin their World Cup qualifiers. And there's your little international wrap-up, man. It seems like all guys are coming home healthy, and that is our priority number one when it comes to our favorite team.
Not just healthy, but should be fresh,
Yeah.
Julio.
And if any of those guys needed minutes, it was Julio.
Yeah, if there was any guy that we didn't need minutes from, it'd be Julio coming back here to play in Dallas. So this was, obviously outside of the results, some disappointing ones for Venezuela, as you mentioned, Ukraine, as you mentioned, but that's good news, man. No injuries, should be fresh. slot right in this line. Should be hungry too, ready to play.
Yeah.
You know, so that's good news.
It's the small sample Djordjevic effect, right? We don't need Julio. Like I'm telling you, dude, at some point we're gonna need Julio.
I agree. I'm just saying for
I get you.
Yeah.
So in that pregame or midweek media availability, this is something that, of course, we talked about previewing the home match last month. But now we're going back to the scene of the crime. Brad was talking about he has not forgotten the antics that FC Dallas pulled last time we were up there, right?
Oh, yeah.
And towards Julio. So this is a revenge game on multiple fronts. Like you're going out there to get this one for Julio. If we score, I'm pulling out the fucking moose. I'm gonna jump around and maybe in some Dallas fans' faces. Who knows? We'll have a couple of them with us. But look, man, we owe these guys one. We haven't gotten one yet up there. So, like, again, it's all coming together where you can get your revenge spot for Julio, your revenge spot for Seba. May he rest in peace down in South America. You can get your first win, and then our head coach. Get a win for Nico in his first trip back to Frisco. And of course, Coach was downplaying the revenge factor when he was asked about it on Wednesday, but come on, man. We all know it's there.
Absolutely. I mean, God, I had to bring up that game.
Look, man, it's part of why we're going to this game still.
Yeah.
Because we are going till we fucking win up there. And that streak ends on Saturday.
What precisely did Brad say? Or just that he remembered?
Yeah, so we remember what happened up there, something like that. You can go the club's website, of course, has that under the media resources tab if anybody wants to go listen to that.
So so with the news of these international guys back not having played any minutes for the guys who are starters for us, what's your anticipation for the lineup here?
I mean, I think Mirtu jumps right back in.
Right?
I think we've seen this. I'm not going to do the research on the fly here, but I feel like one of the multiple times he has left us for international duty this season, he's come back and just slotted right back into the lineup. But I'm not surprised if any of those three, come off the bench here. And I think I feel fine with it because of what we saw last week, right? Like Sporting and FC Dallas are very similar to me, not just because of where they are in the table, but I think the overall talent level and maybe because of where they are on the table, but not because they're below us, but because we know what being down in their situations can do to the mental side of a team, of a coaching staff, and of a fan base, right? Like they are hanging on by a thread. I mean, jumping back to me listening to some of the Dallas podcasts, one of the pods posed the question to their panel, was like, is it better for us to miss the playoffs? And they all said yes, because then they said, you have no excuse to not look at where your shortcomings are, where you need to upgrade, all of that stuff. So like they are begging to be put out of their misery here. Maybe not to that extent, but I think you feel pick up what I'm putting down there. I think the two things for me that I'm more concerned about is Mikel Dessler and Guilherme Biru being on caution. Because I expect both of those guys to start in their normal positions. And I think we both agreed that at least our left back is probably going to pick up a yellow card before he gets that good behavior bonus. So like, where would we?
3 or 5?
5.
Christ.
Yes.
I'll just get out of the way then.
Yeah.
At this point.
I mean, but I think I would rather be missing him at RSL 2 weeks from now than at home against Seattle, because I want to beat Seattle at home, man. We just never done that. I don't think there's no good time to be missing Guilherme Biru. But I will say, like, it's not as disastrous in my head as a fan anymore, because Jean Kolmanich has had a great season, I think, at least relative to our expectations that we had for him at the beginning of the year.
It's absolutely been his best season since he's been here. I don't think it's particularly close, to be honest with you. I anticipate Mirtu slotting right back in. I really do. With the depth issues at the striker position, and still shout out CJ, fantastic work in this last game. Mirtu has been fantastic in this run of form with his run of form as of
Yep.
late. So subbing him back in there, getting him back in his comfort position, totally fine with me. Pep, I think so too. Like I think you put him. I think you slot him right back in. I think you slot him right back in. I think you slot Svatok right back in.
Yeah,
I don't see any reason to get overly cute with this. I know that it worked in the last game versus SKC with who we had available, and those guys stepped up in their moment and had their moment where we were secured those 3 points for the team. Big 3 points without our guys here, because there would have been nobody would have been. You would have had the built-in excuse where it's like you're down X amount of international players who are routine starters for this team. If you lost, even you and I wouldn't have gone ape shit on this because we understood the situation. But now that these guys are back, these are our best players. These are our routine starters. So I anticipate the same lineup. And I do foresee the same formation, despite the fact that I know, well, I guess I don't know, but I'm very, very confident that Dallas is going to come out in that defensive alignment. And it is something that we did struggle a little bit with in that game. I believe we had 14 shots. I think 3 were on target. Not a whole lot of great chances in that matchup because they did their job on the defensive side of the ball. So I could maybe see a little tweakage in regard to how we're going to approach this with our strategy. If we want to get out into the open field a little bit more, we'll see. But keep this starting lineup the same that's been working. Johnny back to the bench.
Yeah.
Right.
Duber
back to the bench.
Oh, I think Duber starts. I don't think Ilya is getting back in there for a start.
Oh, really?
I mean, he only played 10 minutes coming off 2-week absence for back spasms. I don't see any reason to push him. The penalty conceded last week, I get it.
Yeah.
But like outside of that, Duber was good.
Yeah, no, he's been
good. Right?
Yeah, he's been totally fine.
So but then I would hope to see a progression from Ilya minutes wise, right?
Okay.
Maybe you get him at the half. Yeah. But I think more conservatively 25-30 minutes in this one. And hopefully he's coming in to protect a lead.
Yeah, I'd be shocked. Just given Nico's track record. We've seen maybe 1 or 2 subs at the halftime whistle all season long.
I don't know. Can you think of one off the top of your head?
I thought there was one, but I am having trouble finding it. So maybe not. Maybe we haven't had a single one of those. But if we did, it's not more than one, in my opinion. So I don't see that. But like with Ilya, man, I don't know. He just gives us a little more continuity. He gives us that leadership aspect. But if he is not full go, I'm down to not push him. Guilherme is going to have to be responsible. Dessler, I trust way more to not get carded than Guilherme. So, I mean, man, you're just better than this team. You're better than this team. You should be the hungrier team with where you're sitting at the table right now, and you should be able to get this job done. You really should.
Oh, man, I'm with you. In terms of the playoff status, man, that win against SKC, we knew how much it would do for us, right? Now a 99% chance in the playoffstatus.com algorithm to be top 9 by the end of the season. 86% chance to be in one of those top 7 spots and avoid the wild card. And our most likely finish right now is a 6th seed, 48% chance to finish as the 6th seed, which makes our most likely first round opponent Minnesota United, who we could then see 6 times total this year, considering the semifinal that comes up on Wednesday rather, and of course a potential 3-game set in the first round. We still have a 15% chance though at climbing into the top 5. 12% of that being the 5th seed. It would be very tough, I think, to catch 4th place. But look, man, crazier things have happened in MLS, especially late in the season. So again, we are getting hot at the right time, and you're not going to decrease the amount I'm thinking about that potential of climbing to a 5th seed or even a 4 seed and hosting a first round series. You're not going to, take me off of that dream with anything but a loss here.
Yeah.
So look, Austin, even with a win here, we cannot clinch a top 9 spot this weekend. We can eliminate ourselves from contention for the top seed rather, just to make, just making sure you're getting the full picture here. A loss would eliminate us from 1 seed contention, or if San Diego beats Minnesota, or if both of those games draw, Austin would be eliminated from being able to clinch the 1st seed. Obviously, if you're going to do that, you're winning the 6 games left on the schedule. And that would give us a 8-game win streak, which would be double the longest win streak in club history. So yeah, I think we can go ahead and check that, throw it into the trash.
Yeah.
The most important games other than ours this weekend, though, the most important result, Red Bulls take on the Portland Timbers. We need the Red Bulls to beat Portland. That would do the most for us outside of the Austin FC victory to help us with those percentages. We also want LAFC to beat San Jose as well, rather than San Jose getting a win against LAFC. But I think a draw is best if we're still holding on to the hopes of climbing the table even higher than we have already. So there's a little bit of a rundown there on our playoff chances. Ian, unless you have anything else to discuss on this one, how much is Austin FC winning by for the first time in Frisco this Saturday night?
I think I'm going to go 2-0 here. I think we get a goal in the first half, and that kind of puts their game plan out of the window. They're going to have to make some changes after that, and I think they're just not good as long as you contain Petar Musa. If you got to be as physical with him. Now, he's a much bigger guy than Azuni, and he's a much bigger guy than Bukhari. But you got to be physical with him. He has to be the guy on the offensive side of the ball that we are keeping our eyes on at all times, because we saw him beat us with a pass in this last game. That assist was a class assist. I mean, to the point where like people were questioning if it was intentional or not. It was so good that it was like, whoa, could he have done that? Yes, he's capable of that. So I think you get a goal in the first half, and that kind of throws their game plan out the window. And then you get a cheap one in the second half when they're 2-0. They're just not good. Like, they're just not that good. And they are devoid of talent right now. You got rid of Acosta, man. Like, they've been in flux all season long with what they've been doing. A couple other departures, right? They got rid of Farfan too, right? So, there's been a couple things with this team that just, like, I don't think, like you said, with the podcasters, where it's like, I don't want to make the playoffs. I don't think the team feels that way, but I also don't think that I don't think the locker room is necessarily a very positive one with the departures that they've seen and everything like that, because guys get invested and get reinvigorated when you bring talent in to help them make the push. So long story short, 2-0 Austin.
Yeah, I also had a 2-0. And look, usually I try to shy away from just doubling up on our predictions, but it's been working for us lately, man. So I'm going to stick with it. I got a 2-0. E's got a 2-0. At the end of the day, man, we don't care how you get it done. We just need to bring those 3 points back home down I-35.
Come on down to Farmer Field where the champions play. Get ready for the game. It's last business day.
Last business day here on episode 255 of the North End podcast. And like I mentioned earlier, Austin FC 2 on the road here. This is a Friday night kickoff once again tomorrow 9 p.m. because this one is out there at Starfire Sports Stadium in Tacoma, Washington. Tacoma Defiance this season. Kind of surprised. It definitely surprised me to see that Tacoma is down in second to last. They are 13th out of the 14 teams in the Western Conference of MLS Next Pro. 27 points from their 23 games. So they do have a game in hand on the entire conference outside of the town up there in second. So they have 5 games left. I believe we have 4. This is getting close to a must win for Tacoma here. So I expect to see not only a desperate, aggressive team here, but a team that potentially will pull some of those first team, second team hybrid guys that they have in the Seattle Sounders system. Maybe we see some of those guys down with Tacoma here on Friday night. The Defiance, 52 goals for, 59 against. That's third most in the West, tied for most goals conceded in the West. I mean, they're tied with Sporting KC too, right? A team with a negative 34 goal differential. They've given up the same number of goals. League-wide, 5th best in goals scored, 2nd worst in goals conceded. Again, unsurprisingly, right, with the 52 goals for, they have the 3rd most touches in the league in the opponent's penalty area and are also 4th in corners. And defensively have conceded the 3rd most penalties with 7. So some of the names you should be watching out for on the Apple TV broadcast if you're tuning in on Friday night. Number 36, 24-year-old forward, Suskanome, 14 goals, 3 assists in his 23 Next Pro appearances. Those 14 goals are good for second most in Next Pro, behind only North Texas's Sam Sarver. Number 95 is Osaze de Rosario, the son of former Canadian national team player and former Sounder Dwayne de Rosario. Osaze began his career in 2018 playing with something I didn't know existed, Toronto FC 3.
Whoa.
Which was a Canadian third-tier League One Ontario club. Then signed a 3-year deal with a Ukrainian Premier League club in 2021, left in February 2022, 9 days before the Russian invasion, following President Biden's message for all Americans to leave Ukraine. He then went back to Canada, signed with a Canadian Premier League team for a season, scoring 18 goals before signing with Tacoma in 2024. He has been called up to the first team multiple times this season, including for the League's Cup final, where he scored the opening goal in the eventual 3-0 win over Inter Miami. So if you see number 95, Osaze de Rosario out there, we're going to have to know who that guy is.
I mean, I'd be surprised if he's with them, right? Like,
I would, yeah, because like Jordan Morris is still out for their first team, right? And so like some of these forwards, like de Rosario, even some of the defenders too, because we know, right, like they've had suspension issues with John Bell and Keehee and Nuhu. Like Reed Baker Whiting has spent most of the season up with the first team, backing up Nuhu. Two of their, I'll say before we get to some of those other first team guys we could see on Friday, two of their solely Next Pro guys, number 90 forward Sebastian Gomez, 5 goals, 4 assists in his 23 appearances. So he's contributing across the box score. And then midfielder Peter Kingston, he wears number 45, 2 goals, 6 assists distributing out of that midfield in his 22 appearances. So first team does play the Galaxy, so the Sounders rather take on Galaxy on Saturday. So we may, like you said, we may not see any of these guys, but these are the first team assets that have played some significant time with Tacoma this season, which again makes me even more surprised that they are so far down in the table. Danny Leyva, who spent last season on loan with Colorado Rapids and was playing with their first team, former homegrown for the Sounders, now a senior roster guy. He does have 2 appearances this season. So again, I'm kind of reading these least likely to most likely, I think. Forward Georgie Manungu, who is also a senior first-team guy for the Sounders. He's got 5 appearances for Tacoma this season, 1 goal, 3 assists. Our boy, Reed Baker Whiting, homegrown supplemental first-team guy, he's got 5 appearances. But then we get into defender Cody Baker, homegrown supplemental slot, 11 appearances in Tacoma's 23 games. Leo Burney, another defender, supplemental roster guy. He's actually supplemental slot 31, so he homegrown, but I don't think he can play with the first team, I believe is the wording on supplemental slot 31. Either way, 13 appearances for Burney with Tacoma this season. He's got 2 assists. And then we will probably see supplemental guy, defender Travian Souza, 17 appearances with Tacoma this season, 1 goal, 2 assists. Again, I think he's probably the most likely guy you see out there in the lineup for Tacoma on Friday. But like this could be a fucking loaded squad.
Yeah.
And regardless, this is a team that is high powered offensively, no matter who they put out there, as evidenced by those 52 goals. And I think you have to expect a relatively open game, or at least that is what clearly that's what they're trying to do. Because if they're not trying to do that this year, then it's F's all around, right?
Yeah.
But like, I think it is probably in Austin's best interest to try to sit back and absorb in this one and hit them on the counter because they are so open at the back.
Yeah, I still would just be shocked if some of those names that you mentioned there played in this game. I really would. Like those guys have been up there. I looked at De Rosario. He hasn't been with Tacoma since July 20th. Monongai.
He was there with the League's Cup. Hey, come on.
What's
Don't mix up your sports, Monongai guy. Manungu.
Manugo.
Look, any fantasy football fans will laugh at that one, I think.
Nah, I don't know if any will. You gotta be a little deep to be on the Monangai train.
Come on.
All right.
We got Bears fans listening.
We'll take a poll. I remember distinctly in that matchup with Inter Miami in the Leagues Cup Championship, them bringing him on and the announcers being like, this is a really bold call by Schmetzer here because he's bringing on this young kid who has a lot of speed. And then sure as shit, he gets a breakaway on Busquets and draws the PK. So that was pretty interesting. I thought that was pretty cool. So that's cool that those guys are affiliated here. I'd be shocked to see them. But like you said, the 52 goals for and 59 conceded is just an absurd number total of goals for the games that they've been a part of. I remember looking back at them a while ago with multiple games that were like 6-4, 5-2, all kinds of results with this team. So you're gonna have to engage them with a style that isn't as open, in my opinion, like you said, being a little more defensive here in your structure. But this is a big matchup with Austin having dropped their last 2 games here because your playoff hopes will be dwindling if you drop all 3 in this game.
Well, and like as we start to talk about us, man, like I guess the first thing, rounding out the international recap for this week, Jimmy did start and play the first half for Liberia against Tunisia. That ended up being a 3-0 loss, and then he was an unused substitute in a 2-2 draw against Malawi. But Jimmy got some time out there, right? Didn't play the second game, so he should be fresh. Absent maybe some jet lag there. I would expect him to get back into this lineup here this weekend. But like you mentioned, losing the last 2 matches, right? Both 1-0 losses on the road for Austin FC 2. The last 5 games, man, like you at home, draw North Texas, you lose the shootout. You go up to Colorado, you get your ass handed to you. The Ventura County FC win at home, 2-1. That was very promising, but then you follow it up with 2 straight L's on the road. So I think, like, again, you have now fallen out of the playoff spots here. You are a point back of North Texas SC. All these games, absent Tacoma and the Town. Everybody has played 24. So look, you are 3 points back of the 5 seed. But those 2 losses we just took have now made this an uphill climb. After we did so much work to get to that point where we were hovering around 5 or 6 for about a month there. So like, and this does not get easier, man.
No.
After Tacoma, we host St. Louis. Oh, first place St. Louis, 16-4-4 plus 23 goal differential. So like, this is a game, man. This is the worst team left. You also have the Town, who is 2nd seed right now. So like, taking on the 13th place team right now, like, again, I think they are better than your typical 13th place next pro side, but like, should we pull the lever here?
I mean, you saw the motion. I really think if you're going to make the playoffs, you probably got to get 3 points off of this game.
Yeah.
It's easier. It's going to be easier said than done with this Tacoma Defiance. We know the structure. We know the club, the organization, what they represent, how they do things. Obviously, the players we mentioned that have played for the Defiance who have moved up, they have their pipeline there in Seattle of guys that they trust and want to play. So I'm worried about this game, man. And Jimmy getting back is a big plus for us here. Obviously, I think Riley Thomas will be back in action here with FC2, not pulled up for anything now that we got these guys back. Should have Tony Gomez back as well. So, like, I think, you're rounding into – you're going to have your team minus CJ. Irvin probably back, right?
Yeah. You will not have Peter Grogan. You will not have Ruben Bonachera. Both red carded against Minnesota last Friday. But like you mentioned, right? Tony Gomez is back. Irvin Torres back. Micah Burton back from U20 camp. So no results to report for Micah, but hopefully a successful camp there. Farkalin, Gonzalez back. Gonzalez did play. Riley Thomas did play against Minnesota, just got subbed out before the full 90. And I also think, dude, like we saw Charlie back in that last game, but it was an L. So like, and we've seen Coach Utley before, like not really like, I think goalkeeper is back to being a toss up. It's like neither guy has had standout performances of late. I thought Marcus was fine with his 2-game turn that he had there. And I thought Charlie was fine, all things considered. He had to play more than a half, right? Down a man last game and only conceded 1. So I think, Nerf gun to my head, I think Charlie will get the call. But I'm going to be interested to see the second team lineup when it drops late on Friday night.
I will as well, for sure.
Anything else for you on this match?
We haven't seen them, right? We haven't played them so far.
Is this really our only match against Tacoma this season?
Yeah,
it certainly could be. Yeah.
Yeah. Last time we saw them was March 15th, 2024.
Wow.
At least that's what I'm seeing.
Yeah. No, I think you're right.
Here, so.
And like, dude, typically Tacoma, the last 2 seasons that this team has existed, like this is you see them once on the schedule, it's like, hell yeah. But now I'm looking back, I'm like, I wish we played them 3 times like we did, I think, the first season.
So, no, I'm right there with you.
All right, man. How much is Austin FC 2 winning? Look, we pull the lever. You got to win. What's the score?
Man, I'll go 3-2.
Fuck you, dude. No way. All right, man. It's a double up type of podcast. I also got 3-2, man. So, and again, we don't care how you get it done, boys. Must-win lever has been pulled. We need to bring home 3 points. And we will close it out with the nonsense. Again, we are in the middle of one of the rare best ball double game weeks here. So we will have a score update on that next week when it comes to the bets last weekend. Technically, we have a new win streak started here. 2 weeks in a row of profit, but again, it is very minimal here because underdog does not come through, or the entry rather does not come through. Luca Langoni made sure of that on Saturday night. May have to go back. We'll see what that Buka shot on target number is again, because that has been really helping us out. Shout out to the Galaxy for punting that entire match until the 99th minute and bringing us the units on the double chance. And the goal scorers got us enough there, plus 1.21 at the books. Of course, minus a unit on underdog. So plus 0.21 units on the week. And hey, we take and celebrate all victories. So you are now, if you have followed every North End podcast pick this season, you are up 70.43 units between Underdog Fantasy and your sports books. So you can come back to the northendpodcast.com Friday for the match preview article, Saturday morning for the picks. We're back to a full slate of MLS games this weekend. So look, I'm chomping at the bit to get in there on Underdog and cook us up a winner here this weekend. Anything else for you before we shut it down?
No, sir. Let's do this.
All right, everybody. We appreciate you tuning in and sticking with us here on episode 255 of the North End Podcast. We are back on Sunday. Potentially a little bit of a later release. We got to travel back on Sunday from our night in Frisco/Dallas. But we will be back on Sunday recapping our trip up to Frisco to take on FC Dallas, recapping the second team's matchup against Tacoma, and of course talking about everything else that happens in the Austin FC universe between now and then. Enjoy the rest of your week, everybody. We will do the same. We'll see you up there in Frisco on Saturday and back here on Sunday for another episode. Until then, easy. And I'm Zach. Vamos Austin FC, everybody. Goodbye.